Mm. Yeah, I've got a copy of an album I've always loved. Oh Christ, I've made a huge cock up here. I bought it on Discogs from someone in Bulgaria, Chinka, or some country like that. Playing to an audience of one, David Soul, with the classic Silver Lady, track one, side one. Yes, but I should have realised that when it said no returns, I thought, well, it can't be that bad, but this is what arrived. Yep. Damn. The postman left it out in the sun and it's all warped. This was an LP, a mint LP. You can actually see the grooves on the first two tracks in here. Be careful, you young guys in their 40s, 50s and 60s. Yeah, might get ripped off. Yeah, well, I don't know. That friggin' David Hepworth, he reminds me of my cousin, Gregory McGrath. Scottish or Irish or something, I don't give a fuck. But one of those nerd type kids that's so intelligent that all the other kids just torture them and that. Yeah, well, that David Hepworth and Mark Ellen, Christ, I cannot stand them. They remind me of two old spinsters, virgin spinsters, ugly virgin spinsters doing their knitting, constantly talking over each other. Oh, isn't that funny? Oh, yes. But just, what? That Hepworth, he just freaks me out. He's the same age as me. I can't believe it. And he's got this like a wall of vinyl behind him. I've been watching these dickheads for years, but you just know he never ever plays them, and he got them all for nothing. And like it's just, and his latest one was an interview, so-called interview with Tim Finn, ex Split Ends and Crowded House. Well, of course, Tim Finn is incorrect. Yes, that's how we say it, and he says it, but in New Zealand, it's Tim Finn. It's not Tim Finn, which is what it really is. It's Tim Finn. So, and it's quite funny because I was a huge fan of the early Split Ends. I first saw them in. I saw them. I think it was with Roxy Music in '75. I know Phil Manzanera jumped on there, got to them, and convinced them to go over to London and re-record a lot of the tracks off their first album that was recorded here in Australia. Well, not necessarily their first, but the first one that was recorded in Australia, called Mental Notes. And at the, you know, all I know is that I'm sure I saw them also as the warm-up act for Lou Reed. I saw Lou Reed twice. First time wasn't bad. I was way up the back in the bleachers, but he had a great. He had that touring band of Rock and Roll Animal touring band. It was great. I saw him again later, and I swear it was Split Ends that were on before Lou Reed. They were so exciting live. Nothing like their records. On record, they came across as twee and, Paul McCartney sort of cutesy wootsy shit. But live, they were quite powerful, musically and performance wise. Yeah, they had a good stage act. It was entertaining. So I think it was before Lou Reed. That's the one where I scalped the scalper, and the tickets were $5. I was pissed as a parrot, and I got him down to $3, and I got a front row seat right in front of Lou Reed. And the fucking bastards right up there in the stage, just a few feet away, and I fell asleep. And when I woke up halfway through it, he was staring at me with this look of absolute hatred. You know, I reciprocated. Um, anyway, um, yeah, Tim Finn. And I was a huge fan of Split Enz. Highly, they were just so great. They really were. They just came in at the wrong time, you know, when that bullshit punk and all that shit came along. And but they were a prog band, you know. They were heavily influenced by Roxy Music and Bowie and all that. They were obviously influenced by those great bands coming out of the UK, and so they weren't very original, really. But for coming out of a place like New Zealand, it was unbelievable because, honest to God, you know, where that came from, I'll never know. But yeah, Tim Finn, great songwriter. And of course, his younger brother, Neil Finn, went on to worldwide success with Crowded House. And well, good on him, you know. It was it was it was a great time. I saw them live twice, and I was almost like an evangelist. I used to cut out bits from the NME, and Second Thoughts was the album that Phil Manzanera produced for them. But it was bits of the Mental Notes album with newer tracks, and it was pretty weak in my opinion. That Mental Notes sounds extremely dated today, but then so does most of that proggy art rock stuff from 74, 75 anyway. I mean, really, it's of its time, but at the time it was quite, it was really good stuff, and especially live. And what I disliked about Hepworth in this is he's doing this weird thing. He's been doing it a lot lately, and it gives me the creeps. He gets the microphone and he goes like this with he puts his fingers over his mouth and he talks like that, and he gets this weird look on his face, and then he pulls his fingers away and starts going, I haven't got any teeth. This guy's like, I don't know if that's false, but he's got millions of teeth, and he sort of starts going, makes these weird facial expressions. He must think he's still on radio and no one's looking at him or something, and he's got this bizarre, and then you go, oh, well, like this, and then Mark Ellen tries to butt in. Well, he looks like a little chipmunk or something. He's going, yeah, fuck, I hate those cunts. Anyway, and Tim Finn, you think I look stupid? You should see that cunt now. He's same age as me, or 1 year younger, and he's got sort of like a buffy haircut, and he must have had about 100 facelifts, or he's got some filter. That Hepworth guy puts a filter on occasionally to try and look normal, but he still looks wrong. The filter is so heavy that when he turns, the headphones he's wearing, the headphones disappear. That's how heavy the effing. I won't bite my hand. I want to. I won't. Yeah. And okay, to finish this shit up, what really pissed me off about it was that Hepworth, he's going, oh, and were there any bands in New Zealand, and they weren't. They were, but they were shit, okay, really. They weren't. The La-Di-Dahs were all right. They were a good live band. I saw them live, but no, nothing much to talk about, really. And then he just sort of glossed over the whole fact that they moved from New Zealand to Australia, and they went on to the Mushroom label, Michael Gudinski's label, Mushroom, and he backed them to the hilt. And they weren't popular with the mongrel Mongo beer monster Aussie beer barn audiences, but I was, they were really, really, yeah, they were special. They were special for that brief period in 75. And then they were convinced to go over to England. But what Hepworth, after his condescending, like, oh, was there anything in New Zealand? Then he goes, He just skips over. He just says, "Oh, then you went to Australia," and he just skips over it. Well, fuck yeah, you fucking oik. You know, hey, mother, there goes Bush, bastard. They recorded Mental Notes in Australia, and that's what set them on their path to fame. They did do an album before that in New Zealand, I think, full on prog, but Mental Notes was a great album of its time. It was good. And he just skipped over the whole thing. Ah, fucking bloody. Anyway, have a nice day.